The 1000 PB Sisters star Amy Slaton has now accused her sister Tammy of severing their family with black magic. "Tammy, you chose this horrible way to separate my husband from me. How could you do this?" Amy asks in a proud and irate tone. Tammy, however, has refuted the accusations outright. She tearfully said, "Amy, I never did anything like that. You misunderstand me. I am your sister. I don't want to hurt you." The whole family is now devastated by this fight. The relationship between the two sisters who used to be each other's shadow companions has broken down. The audience is also shocked. Are they just misunderstanding each other? Or is there really a dark secret behind it? Amy Slaton stood trembling in her living room, clutching a worn photograph of her wedding day, her eyes filled with tears and rage. The house was quiet except for the ticking of the old kitchen clock and the occasional chirping of cicadas outside. But inside Amy's mind, a storm raged. "I saw the jar, Tammy. Hidden behind your trailer. It had my name on it. And Michael's with burnt paper and black feathers." Amy's voice broke as she yelled at her sister. Tammy's eyes got big. "What are you talking about?" she said in a whisper, shocked. "Amy, I never." "What jar? I don't even go behind the trailer." But Amy wasn't convinced. Little Bit, her dog, had dug up an odd container in the muddy backyard earlier that day. There were scary symbols, crimson thread, and a picture of Amy and her now separated husband, Michael, ripped in half inside. Amy had been getting more and more confused and heartbroken since Michael left without saying why. And now doubt. Their cousin Amanda and brother Chris got there right when the yelling started. Amanda tried to keep things calm, but Chris just stood there plainly shaken. He said, "We've all been through hell. This family doesn't need any more pain," but Amy wouldn't give up. "Tammy, you always hated how happy I was with Michael, didn't you?" Tammy, who had fought so hard over the last year to regain her health and overcome her addiction and despair, looked devastated. "Maybe you couldn't stand seeing someone else loved while you were still fighting your own battles," she cried, her voice clipping. "That's not fair. Black or not, I would never utilize magic. That's not me anymore." But Amy's claims had already spread like wildfire. Fans of TikTok started to pick apart every part of the show, bringing up Tammy's past angry outbursts and even her interest in crystals and astrology as proof. Online forums were full of arguments about whether Amy was really asking for help or just misunderstanding things because she was stressed and sad. But things got worse. A few days later, Amanda found more unusual things in Tammy's garbage can. There were antique dolls with missing eyes, melted candles, and what looked like dry herbs. Tammy completely broke down when she was confronted. "Those weren't for Amy," she cried. "I've been trying to get better on my own. I've been getting help from an energy coach. It's white magic for peace and balance, not destruction." Everyone was confused by the news. Amy didn't know what to trust anymore. Could her sister's rituals have hurt her by accident? Or was the agony in her marriage really caused by problems that had nothing to do with it? Then something big happened. Chris looked deeper and found texts between Michael and another lady that were sent weeks before he left Amy. The truth hurt a lot. Michael wasn't cursed. He had cheated. What about the jar? Tammy cast a spell on her sister to protect her without her knowing, thinking she could cleanse bad influences. Amy felt ashamed and heartbroken when she understood how serious her charges were. She went to see Tammy, who was sitting alone on the porch. "I thought you wanted to hurt me," Amy said in a whisper. "But you were trying to help." In your own manner, Tammy didn't say anything. Her eyes were red and puffy from sobbing for days. She finally said, "Amy, you broke my heart. But I still love you." They hugged at first gingerly, then fiercely like they used to when they were kids. The anguish was still there, but a weak thread of forgiveness started to bring them back together. But it was a sunny Sunday afternoon in Dixon, Kentucky, and the Slaton sisters, Amy and Tammy, were very excited. For the first time in years, they were planned something really special for their mother, Darlene, on Mother's Day, an elegant afternoon tea in the backyard, like the ones they'd ever seen in magazines or on sophisticated YouTube vlogs. Amy replied, "We ain't never done nothing like this," as she placed down a dish of cucumber sandwiches with the care of a royal butler. "But Mama deserves it. She's been through thick and thin with us. Mostly thick. Tammy rolled her eyes but smiled as she drank her handmade sweet tea from a cup with flowers on it. Speak for yourself, Amy. I'm here for the macarons and gossip. Even though she was being rude, Tammy had actually came up with the concept. She had been proud to go to family events ever since her health became better and she could move about more. She wanted to do more than just be there. She wanted to stand out. They had turned the backyard into a lace and laughter garden. Amy's husband, Michael, helped put up the fairy lights in the trees while little Gage went around in suspenders, icing everything he could reach. Tammy donned a flowy pastel blue dress with flowers on it and a beautiful butterfly clip in her hair to honor her mom's love of butterflies. Amy was virtually shining with joy in her lavender sundress. She might have been a touch sweaty from baking all morning. Darlene was suspicious when she eventually got there. "What are you guys up to?" Amy said, "Mama, you've always done so much for us, even when we didn't say thank you." She pulled out a chair for her, and she said, "So today is all about you?" She asked, crossing her arms, but her face softened when she saw the lace-covered table full of little kitches, scones, petifs, and fresh fruit. The chairs creaked, the teapots didn't match, and the dog kept trying to steal the finger sandwiches, but everything was wonderful. Simply relax. Drink some tea. Say bad things, be our queen. Darlene attempted to be strong, which was how she always was, but her eyes filled with tears. She sat down and said, "You all are fools, but you're my fools." The afternoon was filled with laughter, old stories, and even older pictures. Tammy told the famous story of how Darlene chased a raccoon out of the house with a broom while wearing curlers. Amy showed off Gage's new words, mama, tea, and a questionable version of Tammy that sounded like tummy. For dessert, Amy brought out a unique cake that looked like a huge teacup and had the words "World's Toughest, Sweetest Mama" written in icing. Tammy had pushed for that line. "You're both," she remarked, raising her teacup in a toast. Darlene gazed around at her girls as the sun began to set and the lights above them twinkled. They were grown women, still wild and boisterous, but standing strong in their own way. She didn't say much, but her smile said it all. That Mother's Day was more than simply a party for one mom. It was a time to celebrate family, healing, and demonstrating love in funny, messy, and heartfelt ways. That was more than enough for the Slaton family. Tammy did take the last macaronia. She did nonetheless tell her mother about it. The morning sun, on the other hand, shone through the curtains of the Slaton family house, making the kitchen table where Chris was sitting look soft and bright. He saw a huge envelope in front of him that was unsealed and a little wrinkled. It was the approval letter he had been waiting for. Tammy walked into the room with her big blanket still about her and her eyes half open. She mumbled, "You look like you're going to pass out." And then she got a Diet Coke from the fridge. Chris jumped up, his voice scratchy because he was so excited. "Tammy, I was given the green light. This morning, I got a call from the bariatric center. The letter just made it clear. I'm finally getting the surgery." Tammy stopped drinking. "Hold on. What?" Her voice was stern, but her eyes were wide with disbelief. Chris held out the letter and stated, "I did it." After a long, heavy pause, Tammy said, "Damn, you really did it, huh? They told me I met all the goals, everything, the weight loss, the changes in lifestyle." For a moment, there was silence as she looked at her brother and then at her own hands. There was no fake happiness or a caustic comment. Oiled forward and read Albert. Chris nodded. Gr Volwood tapering bis. "Yes, I did, sis. I'm going to get my life back." A moment later, Amy rushed into the kitchen with Gage on her hip. "You told her?" she asked Chris, her eyes shining. "Tammy, can you believe it? Chris will be the first Slaton to have the operation." Tammy sat down hard on her chair. She murmured gently, "That's amazing." But there was something deeper in her voice. Chris had been pushing her for weeks, but not in a judgmental way. He really cared. They had both been fighting their demons for a long time, using food, self-doubt, and pain as weapons. But now he had gone past a line that she hadn't. Tammy didn't feel angry. She felt something else. Fear, and maybe inspiration. "Does it hurt?" she inquired. "I mean, the surgery and the recovery." Chris laughed. "I haven't had it yet." Tammy and Amy were sitting across from each other. Amy said, "But even if it hurts, I do it 100 to stop feeling like this, Tam. You've also made great progress. You're receiving counseling. You're moving more. You aren't the same person you were 6 months ago." Tammy rolled her eyes, but didn't say anything. "Yeah, but I still have a long way to go." Chris leaned over and put his hand on hers. "Then come with me on the walk. Don't put it off until you're afraid or back in the hospital. Let's get this done together. This isn't just my journey. It's ours." Tammy's eyes filled with tears, but she brushed them away. She muttered, "I want that. I want to feel proud like you," Amy said with a smile as she wiped her eyes with a corner of Gage's bib. "Then let's make it happen." Chris got up to get ready for his pre-op meetings, but Tammy stayed at the table and looked over the note he had left behind. It was more than just a piece of paper. It was proof, evidence that change was not only possible, but also happening. And for the first time in a long time, Tammy thought that maybe, just maybe, she could believe in herself, too. But the sun slowly came through the blinds in Tammy Slaton's bedroom, making streaks of light over the messy room. There were empty pizza boxes, sparkly party hats, and a half-empty bottle of cherry cola all over the place. The place smelled of old nachos, spilled drinks and remorse. Tammy grumbled as she opened one eye slowly. Her head hurt like a bass drum at a rock concert. "Ugh, what the heck did I do last night?" she whispered, her voice low and horsero. It had been a hectic night. 4 weeks, Tammy had been eating healthily and following her routine, but she chose to indulge for one evening. At first, Amy, Amanda, and a few other people from their hometown were at her house for a typical get-together. However, what began as a laid-back evening with food and movies turned into a wild party complete with karaoke, fruit-flavored moonshine shots, and Tammy's clumsy virgin-like singing on the living room table. Now she was paying for it. From the kitchen came Amy's voice. "Are you still alive in there, girl? Should I call the morgue instead?" "Dead." Tammy let out a whine. "Tell the morgue to bring fries over the phone," Amy stated, carrying a bottle of ibuprofen and a large glass of water as she walked into the room. "You look like a raccoon got into a fight with a trash can. I feel like a truck hit me." Tammy rubbed her eyes, and then the truck backed up and struck me once more. Amy gave her water and the medications. Tammy whimpered at the action and slowly sat up. That's what happens, though, when you decide it would be fun to twerk on a coffee table after mixing grape soda with peach snaps. "Tell me, please, that nobody filmed that." Amanda entered the room right away, beaming broadly. "Yes, we did indeed videotape it. On TikTok, it has now received 12,000 views." As the others in the kitchen laughed, Tammy cried, "Amanda, I swear if you don't delete that." Half laughing, half dying of embarrassment, Tammy covered her face with a pillow. She sighed. "Not again. I will never again party." Amy leaned against the door with her arms crossed. "That's what you always say. You start twerking like it's 1999 when someone comes pizza." Tammy gave her a stern look, but she couldn't contain her laughter. "All right, maybe one more party, but I'll be staying on the couch the next time." To help with their hangovers, the girls watched party movies again, laughed a lot, ate fatty food, and made fun of Tammy for the rest of the morning. Despite her pain, Tammy felt grateful for her untidy, crazy family. At least it was preferable to be hungover with those who loved you and would tease you all day if you were going to get hungover. But Dixon, Kentucky, was supposed to have a quiet Sunday. Amy had organized a little backyard cookout for her family. The weather was pleasant, the breeze was light, and the sun was high. She had tidied everything, prepared the grill, and even dressed Glenn and Gage in their neat matching outfits. Chris, Misty, Amanda, and Tammy were invited. Amy had no idea that this beautiful Sunday would soon devolve into one of the most heated arguments the Slaton sisters had ever experienced. Tammy arrived in her brand-new, fully charged motorized wheelchair, complete with cup holders and rhinestones. She was already unhappy because Amy had warned her not to bring her troublemaking new boyfriend, Dwayne. Tammy disliked having her actions dictated to her. After parking in the shade, Amy cried back, "I didn't come all this way for a salad." Amy was already stressed out from the kids crying and the malfunctioning grill when Tammy exclaimed, "Where's the meat?" "It's cooking, Tammy. Like your Queen Elizabeth." You always want everything finished when you get there. Amanda's usual sarcasm came out at that point. I'm sorry. Have you all begun yet? I give it 5 minutes before someone throws a burger, Chris said in an attempt to defuse the situation. Come on, everyone, let's just eat and avoid creating this WrestleMania backyard edition. However, it was too late. Amanda never changed when Tammy stated, Amanda, you always talk too much. Stop talking about my life and worry about your own. At least I have a life, Tammy. One that excludes men who catfish you in order to gain views on TikTok. Shucks. Amy dropped the burger forks. It wasn't simply the heat that made Tammy's face flush. Misty entered to try to defuse the situation. All right. Let's all unwind. Amy put a lot of effort into this, Tammy interrupted. You're protecting Amy now? Last week, Amy promised to take me to my doctor's appointment, but she was too busy getting her nails done to do so. Amy lost it. Tammy, that's because you've canceled the last 4 appointments. I now have 2 children and a life. You want to go on a field trip, but I can't just quit what I'm doing for that. With all the shouting, Glenn suddenly broke down in tears. Tammy, feeling confined, remarked, maybe if you all supported me instead of judging me all the time, I wouldn't be so angry. Chris moaned and shook his head as Amy picked him up and rocked him back and forth, adding, see what you're doing? This is why I don't go to family occasions anymore. Support is reciprocal, sis. You cannot expect the hand that feeds you to continue feeding you if you bite it. A great deal of silence fell. The grill was a source of smoke. Glenn snorted. At the conclusion of the mess, one burger fell off the plate and hit the floor like a period. Amanda eventually stormed off. Chris followed Tammy as she rolled back to her van in an effort to soothe her. Amy held her infant in her arms as she sat in the lawn chair. Her heart was as heavy as a burger, and so were her eyes. Later that evening, Amy posted a photo to Instagram. She and the children were the only ones on the porch making a remark. Family can sometimes cause more harm than good. I still adore them though. Will always. How about Tammy? The message was clear even though she didn't tag anyone in her TikTok video of herself lip-syncing to a sassy breakup song. The Slaton family just operated that way, so it wouldn't be long before they reconciled. However, this altercation would rank among their most significant and noisy actions to date. However, Amy Slaton Halteman had a mischievous expression on her face on a sweltering Saturday in Kentucky. The typical scent of comfort food and casseroles was not there in her kitchen today. It was odd, smoky, and acidic. From the kitchen window, Tammy Amy shouted, "What I purchased at the farmer's market will wow you." Tammy raised a suspicious eyebrow and slid her scooter across the gravel road. She let out a grunt. "I don't want anything that isn't fried or loaded with cheese." Amy chuckled as she sipped her sweet tea. "When you see this, girl, you're going to reconsider. The meat is hot from an alligator. It's a unique meal from Sinjin country," they said. Tammy choked on her tea. "Amy Lynn, are you attempting to murder someone? Around here, who even eats alligators?" Amy held out a plastic-wrapped packet of marinated meat as if it were a trophy. "We do now. And what do you know? Gage will also give it a try." Tammy's eyes widened. "Are you giving a toddler gator?" "It's not raw, Tammy. On the side, I'll serve some mashed sweet potatoes and heat it slowly." Tammy muttered to herself, Gage needs to learn how to taste things or start a lawsuit. When she got back inside, Amy got to work. She seasoned the meat with her special blend of spices, placed it on a cast iron skillet, and let it to sizzle until the entire house smelled like a carnival of Southern soul cuisine. Gage talked eagerly as he wandered around the kitchen, pounding a plastic spoon against his high chair. By the time lunch was served, Tammy had crossed her arms and rolled herself to the table. "If that item comes back to haunt me, I'm going to sue." After chuckling, Amy placed 3 dishes on the table. She has one, Tammy has one, and Gage has a small one with bite-sized chunks. She set him in his high chair and said, "Okay, little man." Gage sniffed the steak doubtfully, prodded it once, and then looked at Amy with the same doubtful expression Tammy had. "Let's see what you think of Mama's cage in surprise." "Come on, it's like chicken. Just a tiny bit more." "Swampy," Amy replied. Tammy burst out laughing. Picking up a piece, Gage looked at his mother before theatrically and carefully putting it in his mouth. For a moment, the room was silent. Amy clapped in delight at that point. He adores it, you see. Despite her reluctance, Tammy used her fork to stab a piece and gave it a go. Her eyes widened. Okay, this is fantastic. By the conclusion of lunch, Gage's chin was covered with gator grease. Amy was smiling with delight that Tammy had begged for more. Taking out her phone, she recorded a video for their YouTube channel. Hello, this is 1000 LB Sisters Amy. Today, I made spicy alligator. My baby Gage is officially a foodie now, so for once Tammy isn't even mad at me. As the video went viral, Tammy leaned in and told the camera, if this alligator grows legs and runs out of my stomach, you'll know who to blame. It didn't occur to me that Gage would consume gator before I did. Something new truly appeals to Tammy. Incredible things do happen. Amy needs a culinary program, so hurry up. Within a week, Amy was asked to appear on a local morning show for a segment on hot Southern cooking. Gage, who was sporting a tiny bib that read Gator Slayer, accompanied her with pride. When Tammy got home, she simply laughed and shook her head. Amy, just you. The only person who could turn feeding a baby gator meat into a national event is you. What about Amy? She grinned, kissed her son's forehead, and remarked, we're just getting started, baby. However, Season 3 of 1000 LB Sisters was filled with stunning drama, unexpected victories, and a lot of unfiltered emotion. It was similar to riding a roller coaster. Tammy and Amy, the Slaton sisters, were adored by fans, but this season really turned things up ante. Here is a fictionalized depiction of what would have been the most memorable scenes from Season 3. Parts that inspired millions and transformed their lives. A heartbreaking scene opened the season. At her heaviest, Tammy's oxygen levels were so low that she had to be sent to the hospital. The hospital doctors gave her a clear decision, and Amy grasped her sister's hand and whispered, you have to fight, sis, as the EMTs wheel her out of the house. You have to live. Alter or perish. People were glued to their TVs, wondering if Tammy would finally turn things around, and the cliffhanger established the tone. When Amy wanted to surprise her family by exposing baby Gage to new things, like food, she had been recuperating from her first pregnancy for months. She accidentally fed him some hot alligator meat that her husband Michael had brought home in one of the more amusing and bizarre incidents. When Gage began clapping and pleading for more, Amy's worry turned to laughter and his puzzled expression changed to one of amusement. In the end, Tammy chose to see Dr. Rowe, a new therapist. With a sharp tongue and even sharper wit, she is a no-nonsense woman. Over the course of the sessions, Tammy sobbed, yelled, and eventually lost it. Her rare moment of weakness caused even the crew to cry. I don't hate the world. I'm angry at myself, she murmured. It was inevitable. Amy and Tammy got into a heated argument during a family barbecue. It was real, unfiltered, and emotional when Tammy told Amy that she had left her because she was a mother, and Amy responded by shouting, I got healthy for my son, which you still won't do. There was stillness following the altercation, but it marked the beginning of a breakthrough for both of them. After months of rehabilitation and a lot of work, Tammy was able to stand up for the first time in years. It wasn't perfect. They were hers, even though she cried, stumbled, and hardly moved. Even their brother Chris wept and cheered, as did Amy and Michael. The moment had been anticipated by fans. Suddenly, the impossibly possible seemed possible. During the season finale, Tammy revealed a shocking revelation. Since meeting Elijah in recovery, she had been secretly seeing a man who used to weigh over 700 pounds. The real surprise, though, was that a new facility in Texas had approved Tammy's weight loss procedure. In the final moment, Amy gave her a farewell hug as she climbed into a truck and gazed out the window. Amy said, "Go do this for you," quietly. "You might not recognize me the next time you see me." Tammy gave one final nod before the scene cut to black. In Season 3, weight loss wasn't the only goal. It also dealt with relationships, loss, development, and fortitude. The narrative focused on two sisters who had been broken in various ways and who kept trying to support one another, sometimes with success and other times with failure. Alongside them, fans cried, screamed, and laughed. 1000 LB Sisters became more than just a reality show in Season 3. It featured Tammy's real breakdowns, Chris's difficult romantic times, and Amy's humorous parenting. It came to represent familial transformation and the tenacity of the human spirit. What about the fans? The countdown to Season 4 is already underway. On a cold October afternoon, however, Teresa Caputo showed up at a small community center in a quiet Long Island neighborhood. As soon as word spread that the renowned Long Island medium was visiting the area, a large crowd of anxious and optimistic people gathered in the small theater. Among them was Sarah. After her father passed away unexpectedly a few months ago, she was a young woman who was depressed and full of questions. Teresa's gift was well known to Sarah. She possessed the ability to communicate with ghosts and transmit messages from deceased people. She didn't believe it at first, but her pain compelled her to seek out any comfort she could. She anxiously awaited her turn while clutching a small locket containing a photo of her father. When Teresa entered the room, the atmosphere immediately altered. When she was relaxed and smiling, everyone felt better. She gave a brief introduction before calling people up one at a time. When it was her turn, Sarah moved up to Teresa after taking a tentative breath. Teresa held both her and Sarah's hands while gazing at her with gentle eyes. Teresa said quietly, "Around you, I sense a really powerful presence. This person has been attempting to contact you and truly cared about you." Sarah's heart was pounding. Is this her father? Teresa closed her eyes for a moment before opening them wide in surprise. There's something odd happening here. I'm seeing images of a little boat, a stormy night, and an odd incident from this ghost. Sarah's throat constricted. Because her father had been a fisherman, she had always been terrified of the sea. As Teresa continued, the group fell silent and the tension increased. I'm getting a message that not everyone thinks the way he left this world is right. There is something that has been kept secret from you and your family. Despite the tears in her eyes, Sarah urged Teresa to continue. Your father wants the truth to be known, but he also wants you to know that he is safe. Beyond what you've been told, he wants you to see. It's not over yet. It's the beginning of healing. Then Teresa said the startling statement. Someone close to you knows more than they've spoken, he says. You must follow your instincts and seek the truth, no matter how painful it is. There can be no rest for his soul. Then Sarah was taken aback. There had never been any suggestion of secrecy in her family. However, Teresa's statement made sense. After the reading, Sarah left the hall with a mixture of fear and hope. She gradually started to inquire and learn details that had been kept under wraps throughout the course of the following few weeks, including details about her father's final night, a disagreement, and a promise that a family member had honored. Knowing that her father's ghost was attempting to guide her toward the light and protect her made Sarah feel better, despite the pain of the truth. She returned to Teresa a few weeks later and expressed her gratitude for the frightful but healing message. Teresa smiled and said, Spirits sometimes speak to us to comfort us and open our eyes so we can heal the living as well. Sarah discovered that sometimes learning something unexpected is the best way to go forward. Truth and love are at their most radiant during those times. However, the Johnson family had been anticipating their much-needed vacation for months. After a year of work-related stress, Amy thought that her trip to the stunning Florida shore would strengthen the bonds among the family. She desired a reconciliation between her older sister Tammy and their notoriously troublemaking cousin Amanda. But deep down, Amy knew better. When they arrived at the comfortable home by the sea, Tammy was already in a foul mood. The first argument began when she frantically tried to get online after leaving her phone behind. Tammy's addiction to her phone was ridiculed by Amanda, who was always keen to participate. Maybe you'd enjoy this trip more if you didn't spend all day scrolling, Amanda remarked, laughing. Tammy gave her a scowl. Amy groaned and rubbed her temples, saying, And maybe if you weren't so annoying, no one would have to hear your nonsense. Just try to enjoy the holiday, please. However, Tammy and Amanda weren't finished yet. That evening at dinner, Tammy unintentionally knocked Amanda's drink over. As though Tammy had done something really terrible, Amanda let out a loud gasp. Take care, Tammy. Amanda stared at her and shouted, You're so clumsy. An accident occurred. Tammy sprang back, rising to meet Amanda's gaze. The tension in the room was palpable. Amy's mother intervened right away in an effort to defuse the situation. Please, girls. It's a complete disaster. However, Amanda had no desire to do so. No, it goes beyond that. Tammy makes mistakes all the time. For Tammy, that was the final straw. If you didn't start fights, maybe I wouldn't have to. The argument quickly deteriorated as more voices were raised and long-standing issues surfaced. Amy believed she had to bear the burden of everything. Although she wanted they could get along for a few days, she liked her sister and cousin. The following morning, Amy decided to take the lead. She invited Amanda and Tammy to discuss their feelings while taking a stroll on the beach. Amy remarked quietly, "Hey, I know you two don't always get along, but this holiday is about us being a family. Can we please try to forget about the drama, even if it's just for a little while?" Tammy let out a sigh. "I don't know, Amy. Amanda seems like she wants to get me sometimes." Amanda nodded, but not happily. "And sometimes Tammy gets on my nerves, too." Amy smiled gently. "Then, let's just agree to treat each other with respect and have fun while we can. At least for Mom's sake." They both glanced at one another, unsure, but ready to give it a shot. The rest of the day went better than I thought it would. There were still small fights, but the big drama had calmed down. Tammy and Amanda had a few laughs at the end of the week, and they even told Amy about their problems. Amy felt hoping that next year's Thanksgiving wouldn't be as bad as this year's. But the Slaton family had their annual backyard barbecue in Dixon, Kentucky, where it was very hot. The grill was burning. Amy was running after Gage with a juice pouch, and Amanda was fussing at Misty for cooking the mac and cheese too long. The real fire, though, wasn't coming from the grill. It was coming from Tammy Slaton. Tammy had just come back from rehab stronger and sassier than ever. She rode onto the patio on her brand new motorized scooter, which had pink flames on the side and a little fan connected to the handlebars. She wore a blouse that said, "Zero chill, 100% real." And her sunglasses gleamed in the sun. "Move, peasants!" Tammy yelled as she sped through the crowd, almost knocking down a folding chair. "Here comes the queen." Amy laughed out loud. "Tammy girl, you act like you're Beyoncé." Tammy tried to flip her hair, but it was in a bun. Correction. Beyoncé wants to be me on a Tuesday. Misty gave Tammy a simple hot dog when the supper was being served. Tammy raised an eyebrow when she saw it. Where the hell is the chili? What about the onions? What about the cheese? This hot dog is drier than Aunt Leslie's demeanor. Amanda snorted. "Girl, do you want the whole buffet on a bun?" "Of course," Tammy said. "And I want it now. Or I'm going to make a scene that will make the neighbors call the cops again." Misty ran back to the kitchen, and Tammy leaned back in her scooter like a movie villain planning revenge. That same day, the sisters got together beside the inflatable pool that Amy bought at Walmart. Tammy wouldn't get in unless she could float with her huge unicorn flow tie. Tammy looked at Amanda sideways and stated, "Touch me again like that and I'm calling HR. There is no human resources." "Yes," Amanda said. "There is now rules for Tammy. Section 1. You can't touch the queen without her permission." Tammy relaxed in the pool with her sunglasses on and a glass of sweet tea. This is what being royal looks like. You guys watch and learn. Amy and Tammy went to their favorite drive-through the next day. Amy tried to order for both of them, but Tammy wouldn't let her. Tammy leaned into the mic and said, Hi. Absolutely. I'll have 3 hot chicken sandwiches, 2 fries with extra Cajun seasoning, a Diet Coke, don't ask why it's diet, just do it, and a big caramel sundae with sprinkles. Colorful, not chocolate. I want happiness, not sadness. The person on the other end of the line was quiet for a bit before saying, anything else? That's all for now, Tammy said as she leaned back. Amy said, You know we just had dinner an hour ago? I am a woman of cravings, as you are aware. Don't inquire about the process. During a family therapy session, Tammy's therapist inquired about her views regarding discussing them. Tammy grinned. I feel 3 different things. Great, angry, and hungry. The counselor blinked. Is there anything else? Indeed. Fantastic, fantastic. The therapist also couldn't contain his laughter. When Tammy came home, She decided she was going to be a TikTok sensation. She took Amy's sequin jacket, applied glittery makeup, and recorded herself lip-syncing to Lizzo's at approximately damn time. Greetings, dear viewers. Greetings from my channel. My name is Mina, and I hope you're having a good day. If you enjoy the video, kindly subscribe to the channel.